Hello and welcome everyone to our LinkedIn Live session on AI first strategies for leadership in media services. I'm Nisha Krishan. I'm Vice President with Everest Group and I lead our marketing and interactive experience practice. I'm very excited to dive into how artificial intelligence is transforming the media services landscape from advertising and marketing strategy to what is the latest that is happening in ad tech and what it really means for leaders such as you. With me today are two fantastic experts, Lochan Surana. She is the practice director with Everest Group and co-leads the marketing and interactive experience practice with me. And we also have with us Akash Verma, who's the senior analyst with Everest Group, is our expert on everything to do with ad tech and media services. Thank you, Lochan. Thank you, Akash, for joining us today. Now, before we get started, a few housekeeping notes. Let's keep this session as interactive as possible. We will be asking you a lot of questions. We will also expect a lot of questions coming your way. So please feel free to ask us any thoughts or any questions that you might have. All the people who are attending the session today will also get a copy of our report, Ad Tech report, which talks about the trends which are governing the ad tech space and the role that AI is playing in the entire media services industry. Now, to set the stage, let's acknowledge why this topic is important. Now, we all know that media services landscape is changing very rapidly, and a lot of that change is driven by evolving audience preferences, new technologies, especially AI, and also the proliferation of a number of channels. But at the heart of this change, AI is emerging as a game changer because it is revolutionizing media strategies and it is creating a lot of new opportunities for advertisers. And when we talk about AI in media services space, it's not just hype. What we see today in terms of how enterprises are adopting it or what service providers are doing, it's happening now, it's happening today, especially the role of generative AI. Now, look at Publicis Group, for example, one of the largest media houses, which is using AI powered programmatic media buying for real time ad placements. Or Dentsu, for example, which is using AI and generative AI to automate a lot of creative asset generation for optimizing ad copy, visuals, and videos based on audience engagement. And we can't talk about media till we not talk about IPG and Omnicom acquisition. The entire merger and acquisition, in addition to a lot of other things, is also driven by gaining leadership position, especially when it comes to AI in marketing and AI in media services. So whether you are a CMO, whether you are a marketing lead, or just somebody who's really interested in understanding artificial intelligence and its role in media services, we would really urge you to stick around for this session. Now let's delve a bit deeper into it. Lochan, since you've been tracking this space for quite a long time, let me start with you. How do you think the media services landscape is evolving? And what are some of the major shifts that you are seeing in your conversations with service providers and enterprises alike?
Okay, so I think that's a great question to start off, Nisha, and thank you for setting the context. And so the media services industry is kind of growing rapidly, and we have had examples that you've given right now. It is because of digital transformation, AI-driven analytics, there's programmatic advertising, and expansion of streaming services and social media platforms. So media agencies kind of play a very crucial role in the strategy, planning, buying, and optimizing things for media brands, right? So global advertising spend, if I talk about that, that is projected to reach 1 trillion by 2026, which is huge. And digital media, that will account for over 70% of the total ad spend. And this all is driven by AI powered media buying and data driven strategies, which are kind of reshaping the entire landscape. And if I talk about the landscape, it's far more complex and fragmented now. We've seen a shift from manual, relationship driven media buying to highly automated data driven processes. So, for example, programmatic buying has kind of grown to dominate the digital ad spend, and it's heavily reliant on algorithms. So, 80% of all ads, if may say so, that they'll be algorithmically driven by 2027, 2028, which shows how much technology, is at the core of media services. And this is very different from old times where, main idea was about getting the broad exposure without any clear attribution. And Akash, I was just thinking that it would be helpful, for our audience to understand what challenges AI will help solve for enterprises based on the industry conversations we've been having.
Absolutely, Lochan. Firstly, thank you for setting the context on the broader media services landscape. The rapid evolution of media buying has brought both challenges and opportunities for advertisers and agencies. And needless to say, that AI is emerging as a game changer, helping solve many of the challenges that I'll just touch upon. Earlier, what used to happen was there was manual media buying, which led to wasted ad budgets, suboptimal placements, with buyers highlighting lack of transparency from agencies as a major concern. Then steps in AI. What is happening right now is AI powered programmatic buying, optimizing ad placements in real time, reducing ad wastage, and improving the return on ad spend. Then comes the problem of channels, as Nisha just mentioned. So, what AI has done is that multi touch attribution to optimize the cross channel spending. Another key challenge that was happening was the fake impressions, bot traffic, click farms draining ad budgets. So AI-driven fraud detection
Mhm.
identifies invalid traffic, bot clicks, suspicious activity, leading to reduced ad spend. AI optimizes the media spend allocation as well, reducing the cost per acquisition and maximizing ad effectiveness. And then there are many more such challenges that we can talk about that resolves both the demand and the supply side of the equation. These resonate with that, Nisha.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And Akash, I think that's a great overview of how much the ground has shifted. Essentially, we've moved to a world where media is a data rich, it's always on, and where marketers are not just, thinking about how much but money they need to spend on media, but when they are held accountable for performance across every channel where they're allocating budgets. And this kind of creates a lot of challenges, and it also creates a lot of opportunities, which is kind of perfect segue to our next theme.
Yeah.
With this changing landscape, we discussed this earlier, AI has emerged as a key enabler. So let's dive into that, Akash. I think that's very important for our audience to understand. In what ways do you think AI is transforming media services? In what ways have the marketing functions started rethinking their marketing strategies given investments in AI?
Sure, Nisha. Just to start, the impact of AI on media services has been profound. If you view at a high level, AI is enabling a new level of optimization and personalization in marketing that was just not possible before. Now, what we are seeing is media agencies can tailor ads and content more precisely to the right audience at the right time and on the right platform, which essentially leads to more efficiency and better performance. In fact, just a few months back, we were talking to a retail enterprise which saw a 15% jump in sales and a 16% drop in customer acquisition cost, and all thanks to AI-driven optimization. Now, if we see from a strategy and planning perspective, AI is transforming that aspect as well. We are seeing more and more media leaders using AI tools to analyze customer behavior and market trends at scale. For example, agencies the likes of Carrot and Zenith, they are leveraging AI analytics to inform their media plans and identify which channels or which particular content is likely to drive the best engagement. As one example, in fact, some brands are even using custom AI algorithms in their ad buy. I'll take an example of Lenovo here, which is closely working with an ad tech startup to fine tune its programmatic buying. Nisha, do you feel that kind of bespoke AI strategy is a boon to media services?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I'm glad you mentioned some of these points, Akash, because, and we kept saying this throughout in our previous conversation as well, that it is fundamentally changing how we approach media planning and buying because AI is making media more data driven, it is making it more efficient, and most importantly, it is also making it more transparent, which has been the traditional challenge in this entire market of media services. And what you mentioned about the enterprise conversations that you're having, right? The fact that some campaigns achieve 15 to 20% improvements in efficiency and sales is personally, I think it's quite incredible. So while with AI playing such a critical role in media and marketing today, one of the biggest challenges that I feel, in addition to, of course, identifying the use case, is also data availability and accuracy. With this entire conversation of third-party cookies, and Google keeps keeps changing its stance on it. But whatever their stance on third-party cookies is, We know that the privacy regulations are stricter today. We know that enterprises can no more rely on just third party data. And that makes marketers rethink their data strategies. And Lochan, I know you've been having conversations with quite a few enterprises in this space, right? So, how do you think these shifts are impacting how brands are collecting, managing, and activating their data for advertising?
Okay, so with privacy regulations, I think it's tightening, and then the third party cookies are phasing out. Companies are kind of, racing up to build their own first party data assets. Basically, what I believe, and I think what the industry kind of is going towards, the notion is customer data is your gold, it's your gold mine. And AI is kind of the catalyst that helps unlock the full potential of this data. So AI driven systems can actually automatically segment audiences. They can target ads based on, different signals, which can be purchase history or any website interactions. And that kind of bridges the gap, which was left by the third party cookies, the third party trackers. So now we're also seeing AI powered personalization engines that take first party data, like the products you've engaged with, or the content you've viewed, and then they deliver personalized content. And this is where contextual advertising is gaining traction, as it delivers ads which are relevant to the users without violating any privacy rights and any reliance on third party cookies. So, for example, Disney Star, it launched an advanced contextual advertising solution for its movie channels in India to deliver a targeted and engaging experience by kind of placing ads that are contextually relevant to the content which is being watched. And a similar thing that was done by Warner Bros. They launched an advanced contextual targeting solutions for its Max streaming platform, that aligns with ads that aligns the ads with the emotional tone of the content, and in terms of what at that point of time a viewer would want to see. So now, Akash, this is quite a shift from what has been traditionally the case with data. But I'm sure, as they find themselves in this new paradigm, how do we see CDPs and data clean rooms play a role here?
Good question, Lochan. I will chime in quickly here. So, any conversation that we have with media and data, I think it's incomplete without mentioning CDPs and data clean rooms. And a key trend that we are seeing here is in the first party data use is building customer data platforms and data clean rooms. What we're observing in the market is that many enterprises are aggregating all their customer data touchpoints across different channels into a single place. And then AI just that sits on top of that and does things like customer journey analysis, figuring out which sequence of touch points in the journey leads to conversion or the optimal next action or the best action for each customer. One practical example of AI that I would just like to highlight here is the media mix modeling and attribution. As you mentioned earlier, that with less user level tracking, we are seeing more and more marketers turning to AI driven models that ingest aggregated first party data, let's say the sales or the impressions across different advertisements, and tease out what's really driving the results for them. Then those rich customer insights will fuel everything, that is from better targeting to personalization. We're also seeing the likes of Google who are emphasizing combining their own customer data with AI to maintain marketing performance and even as traditional identifiers wane. In short, to summarize, companies that leverage AI to analyze and activate their unique data, they are seeing more accurate targeting, higher ROI, and deeper customer insights while all staying privacy compliant. What's your take, Nisha, on this?
No, I think I largely agree with you, Akash. This entire harnessing of first party data, or in certain cases, we are also talking about zero party data, becomes very important, specifically when it comes to personalization and targeting. So, completely resonate with your messages over here. Akash, what would be also interesting in the context of data and beyond that as well is, there have been ways wherein there are traditional ways of doing media services, and now with artificial intelligence and generative AI, there are these traditional methods to some extent are being shaken. So how do you think AI is transforming this entire space and making us relook at traditional ways of doing things and making them, let's say, more AI ready or more modern?
Absolutely, Nisha. That's a very interesting question. In the past, we observed that media planners looked backward at historical performance. Now AI just turned it 180 degrees and just enabling marketers to look forward. What I mean here is that we are seeing advanced machine learning models that can forecast campaign outcomes, recommend media mixes with a level of accuracy and speed that was honestly unheard a few years ago. So these AI systems, they ingest historical campaign data, market trend, seasonality, and even macro factors, and then predict the future performance under various scenarios. This essentially means for media buyers is simulating what if scenarios. Let's say I want to shift 15% of my budget from linear TV to YouTube and get evidence-based answers from the AI on potential outcome changes. Lochan, why don't you share that example with everyone that we were just talking right before the webinar?
Sure, Akash. So, we were talking about the Monks and Hatch campaign, which is kind of a great example. This was showcased at the Cannes International Film Festival. And Hatch is a sleep wellness company that teaches families how to develop, better sleep habits to engage audiences. They wanted to engage the audience for the Restore 2 product. So agency used Google AI's chatbot, Gemini, and Performance Max to create an advanced AI-powered campaign for Hatch's Restore to Smart Clock. And what they saw was, AI helped in audience segmentation, creative customization for each audience, and dynamic ad placements. And what they got was a 80% higher click-through rate. And they kind of reduce the designs and production hours by 50%, and that's a game changer for media planning. So Nisha, do you kind of agree with us on this?
Yeah, absolutely. I think some of these conversations you guys have been having in the market are quite interesting, and the data part, I completely resonate with that. But Lochin and Akash, in the context of this media, and we've been talking about personalization itself as well. When I look at personalization, I think there are two main pieces to it. One is, of course, data, which we have spoken about. The second is content. And we keep talking about content services, right? If you have to personalize something for me, a brand has to personalize something for me, they've got to have the right content for me. And real time personalization at scale is not possible because there just aren't enough human beings to generate that amount of content. And that's where kind of AI also becomes important, right? Because with the advent of AI and generative AI, and we keep discussing this, that it is also revolutionizing the creative design and deployment, because it is making real time personalization real, because it is helping us a scale content production and optimize ad performance and also personalize messages at scale. So while data conversation is important, the conversation around how AI is helping brands approach their creative development in unique ways is also something that we should definitely have a discussion on. So, Loshan, what do you think about this, the entire role of AI in creative production?
So I think that's like a very interesting aspect of AI here. So producing the volume and variety of content which is needed for modern kind of personalized campaigns, or I might say hyper personalized campaigns, that's a massive challenge. And AI is increasingly kind of stepping in to help the creative team. So you can quickly produce, multiple versions tailored to different audiences, maybe according to geography, according to different kinds of weather, taste, demographics, and say altering that image and copy for different, different audiences. You do not have to do it from scratch. So, as platforms like Meta's Advantage Plus and Google's, responsive ads, they automatically mix and match the creative elements using ML, and what you get is more engagement, and you do not waste your money and the spend on underperforming ads. So Adobe's advertising AI, which is in their advertising cloud, they kind of help brands achieve 50% increase in engagement, which is, they did it by automatically tailoring ad creatives to each of the content in real time. So, and just I think this is my favorite example. So we all love Nutella, right? And Nutella employed AI to kind of design these unique jar labels that generated, millions of distinct designs. So this initiative kind of showcased the brand's creativity, and it also engaged the consumers, by offering them one of a kind packaging, which is enhancing the brand loyalty for them. So Akash, what's your take on dynamic creative optimization in this space, which I think is also changing how we look at things and how the industry will look at things?
Firstly, Lochana, a really interesting example of neural that you just gave. And to be honest, AI power creatives is a real hot topic in the market that we see now. In the past, what used to happen was that marketers might run a few versions of an ad and see which did better. That essentially we call A/B testing or alpha beta testing. Now AI steps into the game, and with all the likes of generative AI features, AI can juggle hundreds of ad variations from different images, headlines, colors, call to actions, and then learn in real time which combination works best for each audience segment. This is often that we call dynamic creative optimization. The key is that AI is handling the heavy lifting of iteration and adaptation and not just optimizing ad performance, but also transforming branding and design. And just to give a very interesting example, following the Newtel example that you just gave, Nike leverages dynamic creative optimization to create hyper personalized video ads based on user performance, user preferences, location, and past interactions. And during major sporting events, let's say a World Cup, it dynamically adjusts creatives to feature athletes from a viewer's country or preferred team. So, Nisha, do you agree with this?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I agree with this. And just to look at from a broader context as well, we discussed data, we've discussed the creative design and development, and to some extent, testing as well. But the other part of the equation is also, now that you understand the audience through data, you have the right creatives to target them. It is also about the message reaching the right people at the right time, and that too in the most cost effective manner, given the macroeconomic environment and the increased pressure on marketing budgets. So, given the scale and complexity of today's digital advertising ecosystem, we know that manual media buying is no longer sufficient. And it's very important for us to talk about how AI is transforming the entire programmatic ad buying space as well. So, Akash, let's talk a bit about how programmatic advertising is essentially being transformed with AI.
Absolutely, Nisha. So when we talk about media services, then programmatic advertising becomes the quintessential part of how the entire process happens. So programmatic advertising is essentially where we see AI lives and breathes in the advertising landscape. AI-driven programmatic ad buying means that the system can learn and optimize continuously without any human intervention. For example, if we consider modern DSPs or demand side platforms, they are using machine learning to adjust bids in real time. Let's say if an AI predicts a certain ad impression is likely to lead a conversion, and that is based on multiple factors like user behavior, context of the website, time of the day, it will automatically bid higher for that impression. And if another impression looks less valuable, it bids lower or skips it. So this kind of dynamic bid optimization is something only AI can do effectively at scale, evaluating millions of ad opportunities per second. Another interesting areas that we see here is audience segmentation and targeting. In the past, marketers had to predefine audience segments, let's say based on demographic groups or interest categories. Now, AI can analyze huge data sets of user interactions and find patterns to create those micro segments of customers or even achieve individual level targeting. It looks at what's working and not working across placements and then reallocates budget to the best performing channels or creatives. And imagine all that happens in real time. Essentially, AI is acting as the autopilot for your media buying, constantly course correcting to maximize performance. Lochan, we were just talking about it the other day. Please share some examples of how companies are customizing AI for programmatic buying.
Sure, Akash. So let me jump in like with a concrete example of how far this is going. Akash, you mentioned about custom algorithms, and then we are seeing that with some big advertisers. For instance, let's take Lenovo and Sargento, which is a US food brand. They have worked on a custom AI for their programmatic buying. So instead of just using the out of box settings in a DSP, they partnered with a specialized ad tech firms, multiple ad tech firms, and then one of them is Chalice AI to kind of develop algorithms tuned to their specific business goals. So think of it as bringing their own secret sauce to the bidding process, and then AI learns the unique customer behaviors for their products, and it optimizes the media spend accordingly. Group M, for example, has an AI tool called Copilot. They have used for years to optimize campaigns. And these tools handle the heavy data crunching, and the human can focus on strategy. On the ad tech side, if I would want to talk about that, I think that's very important, and I think we've talked about it initially, we've mentioned it, that fraud prevention is a huge area where AI is indispensable, right? And digital ad frauds, like I think bots, they generate fake clicks or there are fake impressions. That's an ongoing, like a cat and a mouse game. So AI based fraud detection systems can actually analyze patterns or activity across thousands of data points to kind of flag the anomalies that suggest that there's a fraud. And so, for example, an app suddenly generates some unrealistic number of clicks kind of at 3 a.m, which is very unusual. So isn't it just so much easier over traditional methods, Akash?
Absolutely, Luchan. And as we automate more with AI, issues such as transparency and control become real concerns. Interestingly, the example that Nisha gave at the start of this live about Omnicom's acquisition IPG. So we are seeing that Omnicom Media Group, which is the parent of agencies like OMD and PhD, has an initiative to standardize AI in the adoption process. And this is a trend that we are seeing more and more big agencies holding companies leaning into the issue. Essentially, what OMG has done is it is pushing major ad platforms with the like of Google, Meta, Amazon, all of whom use AI to decide which ads to serve to whom, to be more transparent about their AI algorithms. They have launched an AI buying agent initiative to ensure that these algorithms are aligned with the advertiser's interest. Nisha, any thoughts on that one?
Yeah, I think I largely agree with you, Akash, in terms of the examples you've given and some of the industry insights. See, the other thing that also becomes important, and I know, Akash, you recently wrote a report on retail media networks as well. The proliferation of channels also becomes important because increasingly what is happening is more and more channels, digital channels are competing for attention, and marketers are also confused or rather not sure about which are the channels which are witnessing maximum growth, which are the channels in which we should be investing more versus the others. We've had multiple conversations on retail media networks, on social platforms, and advanced TV advertising as well. So, Lochin, with so many channels competing for ad spend, how do you think marketers should really approach media channel selection today? And is AI playing a role in media channel selection to essentially maximize ROI from some of these investments?
Sure. So, Nisha, I think when we talk about channels, like you mentioned, there are multiple channels, right? So, let me just start talking by talking about retail media networks, which is like one of the hottest growth areas as of now. So, retail media, think of ads on e-commerce sites, or a retailer selling ad placements using its shopper data, like Amazon, Walmart, we have Target, these, and that is exploding. So ad spend on retail media is also projected to kind of reach about $120 billion by 2028, which will account for, over 25-26% of the total digital media spending. And for instance, if we talk about agencies, Group M has partnered with a tech firm to integrate AI powered, forecasting and optimization into the planning platform. So that lets the brands compare and manage retail media and alongside the other channels for maximum, incremental sales. So that's I think very very unique, and what is happening, and this wave has started. And on the platform side, this Amazon's for example, new brand plus AI solution, so it predicts like which streaming TV viewers are likely to purchase a product, and then automatically serves them the relevant video ads. So AI is kind of enhancing this measurement, right, in retail media. It connects the ad exposure to actual sales. So basically the problem of attribution that we were talking about, right, and we're going to talk about this even ahead as we go in our conversations, I think that's easier. So, and another exciting development is the convergence of retail media with other channels like connected TV. Akash, this kind of reminds me of our discussion with one of our enterprise clients about, you know would you like to tell us how is it expected to evolve?
Sure, Lochan. Another interesting question. And on to be honest, we are witnessing a massive, massive revolution in television advertising with the rise of connected TV or CTV, as they popularly call, more mature in the US and happening in India and APAC right now. We are seeing ads on streaming platforms or OTTs, smart TVs, or other internet connected TV content. And what we see from our research is that by 2028, CTV ad spending is expected to surpass traditional TV or the linear TV that we call, and omni-channel retail media, and including the CTV partnerships that retailers are having with CTV platforms, could be nearly 25% of the overall advertising spend. Now, where AI comes into play is helping advertisers target specific viewer segments and measure results across screens. We are seeing more and more retailers partnering with media companies. For instance, we just saw Walmart partnering with the streaming platform or Kroger partnering with Roku. So the idea behind is to use retailers' first-party data to target ads on TV, and AI is essential here to things like using a retailer's audience segment, finding those particular households or a streaming service, and serve them those particular relevant ads. As I mentioned, they're starting to incorporate outside data or the retailer's data to sharpen targeting. And another use of AI isn't addressable TV, delivering different ads to different households that watch the same program, and which is essentially based on the data models that they have. This was not complicated to do at scale, but AI-driven decision systems make it really feasible. So retail media and advanced TV are even intersecting, which leads to the next big thing, that is social platform. So Luchan, would you share your perspectives on social platforms?
Absolutely. That those were great insights. And then social media kind of, remains a critical piece of the marketing mix, right? And we've seen it evolving and growing, and platforms are constantly even evolving their offerings alongside. We have established players like Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, X, which was previously called Twitter, and then we have new platforms like TikTok, Snapchat. What's noteworthy about these platforms is that they're embedding AI into their ad products. So, for example, Meta's Advantage Plus campaigns, they are an AI powered solution that automates a lot of campaign setups and targeting. So, what it does is that it lets the Meta AI find the best combination of creative, audience, and placement. And then it takes away the targeting decisions out of the human hands in favor of the machine optimization. So even on the content side, AI is kind of helping create ads. We saw, I think Twitter, X recently launched an AI tool to generate ad copy and images for marketers. So Nisha, what do you feel kind of is the next big challenge in this space?
Yeah, I think Ruchin, so those are great insights. Thank you so much for that. Um, I think one of the biggest things remains attribution, and I'll tell you why. We've talked about the whole, data part. We've talked about content production. We've talked about channels and which channels are becoming important. But at the end of the day, no matter your marketing budget, no matter what fancy media companies are running those that marketing budget for you, if you do not have technology and systems in place to measure ROI from some of those investments, I don't think success can be delivered. And therefore, attribution uh, is not just a challenge, but an extremely critical piece that enterprises A need to invest in and are already investing in. But what becomes important is how is now AI helping marketers get a more accurate picture of whether their budgets are working or not. And Akash, I know you and I were the other day having a very interesting conversation with one of the UK based firms which had some interesting solutions on AI powered attribution. So why don't you talk a bit about that? What are you seeing in the market?
Sure, Nisha. If you look at the customer acquisition funnel, traditionally you had brand marketing at the top of the funnel. Think of those big splashy campaigns, Super Bowl ads, and billboards, whose goal was
Yeah.
to enhance brand awareness and sentiment, but you weren't to worry about the immediate sales attribution, right? Then you have performance marketing at the bottom of the funnel, highly targeted, usually digital campaigns, where you track every dollar that is being spent for the return on investments or the ROI, let's say clicks or conversions, or what are the goal you want to achieve from that, or even Google search ads. They were perceived to be quite different by advertisers and agencies. I would say at the top of the funnel or the bottom of the funnel, quite different. But now, with the pressure on the marketing budgets and the availability of data, uh, agencies are trying to marry the two and recently coining the term that we call brand-formance. So the idea behind is that you design campaigns that build your brand and drive measurable results both. And then when AI definitely can help in marketing mix modeling or multi-touch attribution, essentially figuring out how different channels and campaigns contribute to a sale or a brand lift. It can crunch historical data. For example, TV ads plus Facebook ads together yield a better result than either alone, which informs you how you want to allocate your budget. Lochan, why don't you share a few more examples on this?
Absolutely. I think brand performance is kind of really interesting. And then I would love to share an example of another brand that I think we all love, which is Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola leverages AI-powered marketing mix model to analyze the ROI of traditional and digital media, which includes your TV, radio, social media, and then programmatic ads. The AI-based models, these enable Coca-Cola to reallocate some of the media budgets dynamically, and it optimizes the ad spend across various channels. So similarly, I think everybody knows Netflix, right? Netflix deploys AI to analyze which marketing channels, whether it's paid ads or social media or in-app promotions, what works best for them in terms of subscriber signups for new shows and movies. And then on Google's AI model, it assigns fractional credit to different ad interactions. So that kind of replaces the last click attribution with multi-touch attribution. And advertisers who are using Google's AI powered data driven attribution, they have kind of roughly seen a 6% average increase in conversion. And this is what we have heard from our customers and our enterprise clients. Any thoughts on this, Nisha?
Yeah, I think largely agree with you guys on what is happening in this space. Just to summarize it, yes, AI is playing a great role in terms of helping marketers measure and optimize marketing effectiveness, rather than relying on traditional models of last click, etc. AI is enabling multi-touch, data-driven predictive attribution. So I agree with what you and Akash have been discussing. But now let's get practical. Let's talk about reality on the ground. Suppose I'm a CMO or I'm a media leader who's listening to this conversation. It's clear, and I'm fairly convinced that AI and all of these trends that we have been discussing offer tremendous opportunities, but it can also feel very overwhelming. I mean, forget about media services. Anything that is related to technology these days, you cannot have a conversation unless AI comes into picture. So as a marketing leader, I'm thinking, AI is in brand, AI is in commerce, and now AI is in media services as well. So it can be overwhelming. So as I listen to this conversation as a marketing leader, what are some of the actionable strategies or steps that leaders can take to successfully navigate this AI driven media landscape? uh, Maybe we should have a discussion on some of the actionable recommendations on the ground. Akash, I know you've been speaking a lot to some of the enterprises. What do you think are some of those recommendations that you would probably give to me if I'm a marketing leader?
Sure, Nisha. I'll just get started on the actionable recommendations that we have for the enterprises. First things first, strengthen your data foundation. I think I can't emphasize it enough. Data is the fuel for AI. Audit your data, especially first party customer data. Ensure is it collected in one place? Is it clean and accessible for analytics? Also consider investing in a customer data platform or data lake if you haven't, to unify data from different channels or customer touch points that we have. Without good data, AI won't magically fix things. So a CMO should champion data quality and integration initiatives as a precursor to AI projects. The second most important recommendation that I have here is start with small AI projects which are aligned to your business goals. Prioritize those high impact use cases and start working on pilot projects. What I mean here is, maybe let's start implementing an AI driven recommendation engine on your website, or try a small AI tool to automate social media and optimization for one product line. Make sure that this pilot is tied to your specific objective. And then these quick wins build the confidence and momentum within the organization and helps justify the larger AI investments that we have been doing. Third recommendation is leverage those AI features in the existing platforms that you have. Essentially, use what's already available with you. Many marketing platforms that enterprises have already have those AI features, and you just need to ensure that your team is taking advantage of them. For instance, Google Ads offers automated bidding strategies and responsive search ads which are driven by AI, and Facebook has Advantage Plus and lookalike audiences. And there are certain emails tools that we can think of that have send time optimization based on AI. Lochan, what are your thoughts on this?
I absolutely, agree with what you enlisted. And I also have like kind of a few recommendations here. I think the first one would be focus on measurement and accountability. I think we've talked about this, that how important it is to measure the impact that AI will generate for you. So that's kind of the, might mean that you need to invest actually in a marketing analytics or attribution solution that can, help quantify results for you. So for example, you can use the lift studies to see, if an AI optimized campaign actually drove those gains for you, over a small control group. And then, implementation of dashboards that help you track the key KPIs before and after, AI tool adoption. And we've talked about brand-formance and multi-touch attribution. Those kind of analysis actually ensures that AI doesn't become a black box, but rather a well trusted engine. And another thing I believe is that you don't have to do it alone. You can engage with, media agencies and tech partners about their AI capabilities and use their expertise. So we have agencies like Group M, Dentsu, Mercury, Carrot, who are investing heavily in AI. And you should make sure that you are benefiting from them, and question them in terms of what AI tools are they using, and then how can you use that in your business, and then work together for success, right? And I think one another thing that I have in my mind is that, you need to have that big picture view. You marketing leader who you right now you're sitting with, the board members and then the C-suite. So you tie your AI projects back to your company's broader goals, whether it's growth in a segment, customer experience, or you want to improve efficiency gains. Ensuring that AI effort is a means to that end and not an end is essential. So Nisha, do you agree with, us and both Akash and myself?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I have no option but to agree, because some of these conversations we have been part of together, and it's very heartening to see how some of these use cases and strategies are panning out. So yes, I completely agree with those set of recommendations. We've heard it from some of the marketing leaders and CMOs. Uh, I'll just take a step back. I think this entire conversation on AI in media services becomes even more important because I think there are two main points. A, there is more and more pressure on marketing budgets of organizations. And given the pressure, the focus on attribution, the focus on channels, the focus on how you are spending, where you are spending, and what is the ROI that you're getting, all of those conversations are becoming very important. And because these conversations are becoming important and there is pressure on budgets and pressure on ROI, the potential of AI in media services becomes very important. The second thing is, and the people who have joined us would know that the entire space of media services has had challenges of its own, especially when it comes to transparency and especially when it comes to attribution to some extent as well. And what we've discussed today is that AI has the potential to overcome some of these challenges. So some of these conversations and recommendations are quite interesting. Thank you, Akash and Lochan. But if I were to summarize this, right, for our audience, what are some of those actionable insights? I think the broader one is embracing data, getting your data estate right, focusing on first party data. Adoption of customer data platforms as part of that, which Akash also spoke about, becomes extremely important just because of the potential that CDPs offer both in B2C and B2B industries. The second is that the time for experimentation when it comes to AI is over. There was a time till last year when a lot of enterprises were experimenting with POCs, when a lot of POCs were not reaching the production stage. I think that time is over. If in this year, at this time, you're not embracing AI, especially when it comes to media services, you risk to lose a lot. So it's important to identify the use cases. See, you don't have to invest millions of dollars in some fancy undertaking to have an AI ready enterprise. There are quite a few tools which are available, whether it is for creative production or embedded AI capabilities in existing platforms. I mean, a lot of CDP vendors that we speak to have a lot of embedded AI capabilities to do the audience segmentation, to do the identity resolution and activation. So use the AI tools and embedded AI capabilities which your partners uh, are offering to you. And the fourth part being is work very closely with your partners because you can't do this journey alone. If you are a retailer, you can learn a lot from maybe a financial services company or maybe a healthcare company. And when your partner comes into picture for implementation of some of these strategies and some of these tools, I think they bring in a lot of cross industry knowledge. And most importantly, they also have frameworks for ethical adoption of AI and AI governance. So that becomes important as well. And while you do all of that, measuring the impact and attribution, the conversation that we just had becomes important, and keeping a human in this entire creativity loop and media loop also becomes important. So I think those were the set of recommendations that all of us had for you today on the potential of AI in media services. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us at any point in time, and we'd be happy to answer those. Akash, if you were to just summarize today's conversation in one word, and when I ask you this question, I'll come to you, Lochan, after this. The question is, what does AI in media services mean for you? What would be your one or two word answer?
Interesting question, Isha. I think just if I have the limit of 1 or 2 words, I would say game changer.
Game changer. Okay. That's quite accurate. You didn't go beyond 2 words. Luchan, the same question, right? If what is AI in media services for you?
So for me, I think it's the wave that you need to ride and then succeed on. So that's it for me.
Okay, all right. Okay, for me, I think it's a lot of efficiency, and I'll go beyond 2 words: efficiency, productivity, and transparency. So, with that, we'll close the chat that we had today. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Thank you, Akash. Thank you, Luchan, for sharing very interesting insights today.
Thank you, Nisha. Thanks, Lochan.
Thank you. Thank you, Nisha. Thanks everyone for joining us.